What's up, humans, and welcome to a new Psicoactivo. Happy Sunday, everybody. This one is going to be a little difficult to make because I read the book UFO of God a couple of times already because I found it really fascinating. A lot of the different things that happened to Chris Bledsoe, which I believe did happen to him, those experiences are sort of forming a type of devotion for Chris and for his entire family. And that devotion is not just coming from people who go to their events and go do these mass sightings that Chris Bledsoe always talks about, like this one. These happen quite often near his house. I don't think he charges to make those. The problem is that over the last few months, something changed, I feel, in the Bledsoe family. The Psy Games just happened, and Chris Bledsoe was treated as one of the biggest celebrities in the world in that event. And there was a mass sighting there. Every time that Chris Bledsoe posts a video of an orb that he records, there's always a debunk of it. And there's always skeptics and there's always debunkers that go after him. I do think that Chris Bledsoe does not understand the way in which the human psyche works and how people who are already religious see his case and they react in a certain way that can be dangerous. I believe that's something that Chris Bledsoe still doesn't fathom completely, nor does his kid, Ryan Bledsoe, who has a podcast called Bledsoe Said So. I don't know if you guys have seen it. That podcast is not really about UFOs or extraterrestrials, although in the logo they do have a UFO, which is kind of ironic. But Ryan talks about Hermeticism. He talks about other types of traditions, meditation. He explores everything. And I think that's okay.
Night comes around, I spend anywhere from 6 to 8 hours researching Osiris and Egypt and all these different things, which led me down this rabbit hole to like Hermetics. And I found about Hermeticism and I was like, this makes sense. This is what it means. As time went on, I started meeting more and more people in the CIA who I would ask them questions. And on the one hand, they talk publicly and they say one thing, but then in private, they say another. And something that they would all indicate to me is that they're into Rosicrucianism or the Templars, all this esoteric stuff. Tim Taylor, for example, the guy from Diana's book, by the way, I was one of the people that put out his identity. But anyway, he told us in private, he was like, you guys should look into Kundalini and sacred geometry. And he had a shirt with the Ouroboros on it. And he was like, do you know what the 6-pointed star means? And we're like, no, isn't it the Star of David? He's like, no, the triangle pointing up is the masculine aspect of God or creation. And the triangle pointing down is the feminine. And you merge them together. And he was just saying all this stuff. And we were like, whoa, never heard of it. It was like, you guys need to research sacred geometry. It's very important. And anyway, so I had that dream. Some people, let's just say in the CIA, encouraged me to look into Rosicrucianism. And they were like, it'll help you kind of understand a little bit more about what's going on. So I say all that to say that my journey has led me down this road of studying the esoteric. And as you study the esoteric, you find that the great secret is that there is a divine feminine. This is true in Gnosticism. This is true in Rosicrucianism. This is true in the Templar Knights. I'm not that into Freemasonry, if I'm being honest. I don't really care to look that much into it. But you find this theme that there is a divine feminine, and it is like this very important kind of taboo secret force that's been guarded by these orders for thousands of years. And it's like, no shit.
The problem here is that there's always this God connotation to it. I mean, for God's sake, and I know the irony of my phrase, the book is called UFO of God, and they used one of Leonardo da Vinci's most famous paintings, which depicts 3 orbs in the person's left hand of the painting. And it's very clear that there is a heavy religious connotation to the book and to the experiences. We've heard Chris Bledsoe constantly saying that these beings are angelic beings, which has a religious connotation to it. And I do think every time he's asked about this, he says that he doesn't think it's religious at all. And yet he also makes claims like that these are angelic beings. And there's also these little undertones like this one from the Psy Games. The community manager at the Psy Games decided to post this, thought it was a good idea. And then there's also the involvement of the intelligence community and NASA with the Chris Bledsoe case and some of the biggest UFO celebrities as well. At the Psy Games, there's Chris Bledsoe with Joseph McMoneagle and with John Alexander. John Alexander is very well known in the UFO community. Many consider him what you would call a spook. I don't know the man, but I do think that there's something really strange about the way that people from the intel community behave towards Chris Bledsoe, because there are many from those places that do believe in religion and do believe in God. There's this mysterious case of Mr. Tyler D, aka Tim Taylor, who formed a really close relationship with Chris. There's another one right here when Chris visited NASA many years ago. And when Chris spoke about this interest from the intelligence community in his case, they told him that they have tried to communicate with the phenomenon and they've gotten nowhere. And the phenomenon seems to communicate with him, and they're very interested in that. My point here is that over the years and over the many different stories that Chris Bledsoe has talked about, he has developed a sort of like a cult leader sort of following. And it's not his fault, I don't think. I don't think he's done it on purpose. I do believe the phenomenon exists. I do believe that whatever he experienced is real. But I am also weary of the many, many cautionary tales that have happened over decades, since at least the 1920s, of many different religions around UFOs. There's a long list that include cults or religions like the Ethereal Society, Antrobus, the Ashtar Galactic Command, the Cosmic Circle of Fellowship, Fiat Lux, Falun Gong, Happy Science, I Am Activity, the Nation of Islam, Realism, Rational Culture, Sunbursts, Universe People, the Urantia Movement, and then obviously we have Scientology, which was created by L. Ron Hubbard in 1952. And I think that the connection there is that any cult that lasts long enough and gathers enough followers eventually becomes a religion. But all religions start as cults. The Abrahamic religions started as cults. And I don't know if you guys agree. And I know that this is maybe going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, but a lot of the connotations around many of these religions already have UFOs and life with non-human intelligence coming from the sky and the relationship to them ingrained in their scripture and their traditions. If you go to Mecca, all of these people that go around this black cube, they worship a piece of a meteor that was allegedly sent there by Allah. This has also UFO connotations to it. And I think all religions do. The thing is that the oldest ones that have their scriptures and everything have been misinterpreted over many, many hundreds of years and even millennia. And these cautionary tales, they have some really dark stories. Because, for example, realism that was founded by Claude Vorilhon, also known as Rael, he did have a UFO experience that was very real. And he interpreted it in his way. He even grabbed some elements from ancient scripture. He alleged that the Elohim, which is in ancient scripture from the Sumerians, they believe that the Elohim are a race of extraterrestrials who created humans through genetic engineering, which is what a lot of people right now are talking about when it comes to UFOs and extraterrestrials and all of that. And when it gets darker, cults like Heaven's Gate also come to mind. If you want a great realism religion video, my buddy Josh at Polarity just did a really cool live stream yesterday talking about it. I'm going to link it in the description. If you want a really good video about what the Heaven's Gate cult did, which was a mass event where a lot of people took their own lives, and it was really awful back in the 90s. Jason Somoza, who has a really cool up-and-coming YouTube channel about UFOs, just did a 2-part wonderful video about Jacques Vallée and Messengers of Deception, his book, and about how he investigated the Heaven's Gate cult, which is a really obscure story that I don't think Jacques Vallée likes to remember much, being involved in it, because I don't think he thought that this mass event was going to happen. I'm not saying that Chris can lead to something like that. I'm saying that people who are very religious already and see a case like Chris Bledsoe's, they can instantly lose their sense of reality because of the devotion that they develop by seeing something that they do not understand, and they give it a religious connotation. That's what's happening with Chris, whether he likes it or not. And I know that he doesn't mean to do this. I know that what he means is positive. He always promotes everything positivity, and he always promotes engagement with others. But this is something that he needs to be aware of. And if this costs me an interview with him, I think that would be really unfortunate. I do want to talk to him because I want to talk to him about this. I want to talk to him about what he is doing in order to prevent for this effect to happen, because it is out of his control. But if he's aware of it, he can at least caution people about it. I inevitably think about the whole story of Jesus Christ, because Jesus for me was just a man. And for many other religions that are not Christianity and even Catholicism, Jesus was just a man who was promoting a lot of the things that Chris Bledsoe is promoting. And he was incredibly misinterpreted by many of these religions over the centuries. And I would guarantee you that the way in which he is misinterpreted right now is something that he wouldn't accept and he would vehemently fight against. And I think that Chris Bledsoe currently is still on time to fight against this, because Diana Pasulka does mention this a lot, that UFOs are creating a new religion. And I think Chris Bledsoe might be one of the avenues in which this may happen. And I think that we need to be aware of it. I think that there needs to be a default mode where we see these experiences with the phenomenon. We see people like Chris Bledsoe, and there are many like Chris Bledsoe that also have seen the lady, for example, that see these orbs. We need to have sort of a default mode and understand that we can't adhere a religious connotation to it, because that's a slippery slope towards a new cult, towards a UFO religion, as it's happened many times. And many of these stories did not end well. So I would advise Mr. Chris Bledsoe to be very cautious. And I'm sorry, but I know that there's a lot of people that really do support Chris Bledsoe. I still maintain that he did experience what he talks about, but I think that this is starting to move towards that slippery slope. And I just want to caution people, because it's happened so many times in the past, so many times. And people get completely seduced by this idea because of their religious beliefs, and because they want to attach their beliefs to something that they see in real life that is kind of like whatever they saw in the Bible, or whatever a prophet was described as. I just think, and just keep going back to Jacques Vallée, to John Keel, who constantly say that this phenomenon constantly tricks you, and it does.
This may not seem very Fortean to some of you, but everything is interrelated. And the more we study history and the more we study current events, we see that all of these things are linked together in strange ways. That the UFOs, as most of you know who have read my books, I don't think they're extraterrestrial at all. I think they're definitely tied to the human race, and that they react to things that are happening to the human race. I don't think they're vehicles. I think sometimes people see what appears to be vehicles, but they're really hallucinatory. And no matter how reliable the witness is, what they see can be questioned. The same is true in many of our Bigfoot cases and strange monster cases, that the people see some image that's planted in their mind, and the creature itself probably doesn't exist at all, at least not as the creature that's seen. When I was in India, I was impressed at the number of people who were seeing the Indian gods, multi-armed gods and all. Whatever your belief is, these manifestations are going to assume that form.
And whatever Chris is seeing, whatever this lady is, I just think it's a really bad idea to attach divinity and religious belief to it. I just wanted to let you guys know what's happening lately with Mr. Bledsoe. And I just want to caution Mr. Bledsoe to be aware that even though you are not doing it on purpose, you might be starting to create a new UFO religion. And I think you need to caution people about it, because it's out of your control. Even sometimes whatever people feel is out of your control, but you do have control over what you do. Let me know what you think in the comments. Did you read UFO of God? What did you think about it? What do you think about how this whole story of Chris Bledsoe and the Bledsoe family is progressing? Let me know in the comments. Do you think it's going towards that UFO religion or UFO cult, as some already suspected it does? Because the latest this week does kind of point towards that. And I think people should be really careful. I'm not shutting down people who have religious beliefs. They have every right to have them. I am agnostic myself. I don't know what's going on. I do see that a lot of what happened back then, when the Abrahamic religions were created, has been misinterpreted over time. And I think that that should be taken into consideration. So let me know what you think in the comments. I know this was a long-winded one, but I wanted to talk about it because it's concerning. And Professor Pasulka did talk about it. She thinks that UFOs will create a new religion. Is this it? Is this the early stages of a new religion? Let me know in the comments. If you like the content you see, I'm going to ask you to like, share, comment, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. That's all you need to do in order to help the channel, and it is what helps it the most, so thank you. But if you want to support the channel in other ways, there's a few links down there you can choose from. You can become a member on YouTube, or you can support us through KGRA. Anything you choose to do is always appreciated, so thank you. That's it for me today on this video, but I'll see you guys in the next one. And remember, stay curious and inquisitive always. Bye.